Shalom is Levi Shore, Sweet and Good Torah. We got Mordecai, Rabbi Mordecai Darvish from the Gates of Mordecai. We're doing part two of Purim, the Kabbalah of the Megillah Esther. I got my NASA outfit here. We're gonna jump right in. Let me bring up the share screen here. We're jumping in the Tif Eris. We're doing part two of our, rapidly viral video from yesterday or Erev Shabbos. It's all blending together. Okay.
Tell them,
All right,
tell
Tif
them to
Eris.
subscribe, like, and share.
Oh yeah, subscribe if you like it. Subscribe, like, share, turn on those notifications. All the good stuff is blowing up here on Sweet and Good Torah and Gates of Mordecai. Oh, wait, Tiferes. Tiferes is the balance of Chesed and Gevurah. I am so lost where we were from the bottom, but we're gonna go here. We're gonna jump into Tiferes on the third day. Esther wore Malchus. She actually wore the Sephira of Malchus, the royalty, kingship, and stood in the inner courtyard of the king's palace. As we said before, and the Gemara says anytime it just says the king, it's not only talking about King Achashverosh, it's talking about Hashem. It's talking about the Melech, Malchei Malachim, the King of Kings, Hashem. So now we're talking about the inner courtyard of Hashem's palace, the gates of prayer, the secrets of getting Hashem to answer us. So she entered into the inner courtyard of the king's palace. While the king was sitting on his royal throne, the Kisei Kavod, the throne of glory in the world of Berea, the world of creation, in the royal palace facing the entrance of the palace. Anything yet? You want to jump in yet, or you want me to go a little further?
Keep going.
Okay, so the king extended the gold scepter to Esther. She touched the Rosh Hasarbi. She touched the head of the scepter. And the king said, "What is your request? Even until half the kingdom." The Mefarshim say half the kingdom means until Yerushalayim, until the Har HaBayis, until the Temple Mount. I will not let the rebuilding of the second Beis Hamikdash, the second temple, anything, Esther, except that, it will be granted to you. Esther says, "If it pleases the king, let the king and Haman come to the banquet that I prepared for him." The king commanded, "Hurry, Haman, to fulfill Esther's word." The king says to Esther during the first Mishteh Hayayin, and we want to break this down a little bit. Queen Esther, on the 15th of Nisan and the 16th of Nisan, invited the king Achashverosh and Haman to these two wine feasts. Well, what wine feast do we have on those nights? We call it the Passover Seder. She invited them to a Seder. The Mishteh Yayin is a Seder, the wine feast.
Ooh. Wow, you just revealed to me a secret. If that's the case, then we know that on the latest Seder, the night of Pesach, that's when the 50 lights of holiness are revealed.
Ah.
So yeah, so it's something huge that's happening here. The 50 lights, that once these lights are revealed, no evil can reign. It basically destroys everything that's evil. So it's only goodness that comes out. If this is the night, then this is definitely the two powers that we're supposed to take down. She had a sinister plan in mind for these two cats.
Right. This is the first Seder. This is the Leil Shemorim. It's the night of guarding. The next night, the next Seder is going to be the beginning of Sephira Omer. And the Gemara and the Midrashim say that Mordecai was teaching about the Omer offering to his students in the yeshiva. And Haman's like, I paid 10,000 silver talents of silver. We said that's the equivalent of like over $500 million of silver. And your little barley offering, little wheat offering of the Omer. And that defeated me. It's inconceivable. The power of the mitzvah is inconceivable. So
our learning defeats his evil plans.
So the king says to Esther during the first night of Passover at the Seder, or the Mishteh Yayin, the wine feast, what is your she'alti? What is your request? It will be granted you. What is your bikashti? What is your petition? Even until half the kingdom will be fulfilled. So Esther responded, if I have found favor in the king's eyes, let the king and Haman come to the banquet I prepare, and tomorrow I will fulfill the king's word. All Esther asked is they come to the second night of Passover, the second Seder. Any comments here, or should we just take it
wait, hang on a second. They're talking about yain. I have to say a bracha on yain and drink my own wine. Hang on a second.
Oh, man. I'm just still on coffee. I'm just gearing myself up for the yayin later. I'm not up to yayin yet. Maybe it's Ashkenazi Sparty. The Spartian were like jumping on the yayin early, and I don't know, Ashkenazis, I'm just, getting some food going, a little coffee, a little water, getting ready for the yayin. All right, so that's right. So she invites them again to come the second Seder, the second Mishteh Yain, the second wine feast. So Esther responded, right, come to my banquet tomorrow. Haman went out. Oh, we're losing it. Haman went out, Sameach v'tov. He went out like happy and good. But when Mordecai in the king's gate didn't stand up or stir, he was filled with wrath and Mordecai. He summoned his friends and Zeresh, his wife. So he puts his friends ahead of his wife. You're not supposed to do that. He says,
Uh-oh.
he says his wealth, his many sons, his promotion above the officials and the royal servants. Queen Esther inviting him to the banquet with the king are worth nothing. Nothing as long as I see Mordecai the Jew sitting at the king's gate. We see the mind of the anti-Semite. And Zeresh and his friends say, make an eight, make a tree, make a gallows 50 amos high in the morning and speak to the king and hang Mordecai on it. And you were saying before,
Oh my
like
God.
special, the 50 gates of Share Bina and the Maharal in his Sefer Or Chadash on the Megillah Esther. He says the same thing. He says Haman was trying to capture the 50 gates of Share Bina. All right, what do you want to jump in here?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, that's his whole idea if he doesn't get Mordecai, he doesn't get the last Jew out there that believes in God, that doesn't believe in any other power. Um, then it's not worth it for him. Nothing. He's not happy. So he has to get, that's the serpents, that's the snakes, the evil side, the Yitzhahara, the evil side's plan. They have to get the final person who believes in the one true power. And how do you believe in the one true power? I mean, like you can't comprehend the infinite one, but you can comprehend the 50 gates of understanding. Right. So that's what we have. All we have is the 50 gates of understanding. So if he rules over the 50 gates of understanding, then he essentially won the war.
Mm,
And he can't win the war. We can't, that's not the plan. The plan is that he loses the war. But that's his goal. And that's, if we understand what the plan is and we understand what's going on in history and all its revelations.
mm. All right, tremendous. All right, so we're moving up to Gevurah. Gevurah is strength, but it's really the strength of self-control. It's the strength of conquering your own Yetzer Hara. And the king's sleep was disturbed. And here it
And,
means Asa Hashem.
and
Yeah. Here is din. This is on the side of din, judgment, justice.
just
Justice.
there
Justice
we
is coming down. So the king's sleep was disturbed. Hashem's sleep, Kiviyachal, was disturbed. And he commanded to bring the book of records and the Divrei Hayamim, the book of Chronicles. And we hear about Hashem's three books on Rosh Hashanah, the book of life, the book of death, and the book of the Beinonim. So here Hashem is the book of records, the Zikronos, the book of memories, the Chronicles. And it was found that Mordecai saved the king from Bigsan and Teresh. And the king said, what honor has been done for Mordecai? And the king's attendant said, nothing has been done. Haman is in the outer courtyard of the royal palace. Haman's trying to also beg Hashem to do his will. And the king says, what should be done for the man who the king wants to honor? And
go.
Haman says to dress him in the royal attire, in the malchus,
Oh,
kingship, royalty, ride him on the king's horse, and put the
oh,
royal crown on his head, and let the horse be led by the king's officials, proclaiming, this is what will be done for the man the king desires to honor.
wait a second. We skipped a step.
Okay.
Haman said, "Who does the king want to honor more than me?"
Mm,
Right? That was his main thing. Like who else would the king want to honor if not him? Right? Because he was second in command. The same thing with Satan. Right? That's what he wants. The Yisahara, the evil inclination. That's what he wants. He's like, who does God want to honor if
mm.
not him? Right?
Interesting.
But so he devises all these plans to do what he thinks is right. But it's very interesting. It says that we said like the king wants to give someone who deserves something, right? What has been done to Mordecai?
Like he did something good, right? And the way God works is measure for measure. So if Mordecai did something good, so I gotta give him something good, measure for measure. All
Mm.
right. And we're gonna see later that Haman is trying to plot, right, to kill him and to do all these things measure for measure, right? So he's gonna get back measure for measure.
Mm. Oh, it's
Right?
amazing.
He's planning, he's like, yeah, the king should do X, Y, Z, give him a horse, give him royal clothing, walk him, parade him through the streets and all that good stuff. Oh, that's what you want? Oh, okay, I'll give it to the guy you hate.
Very interesting. But it's showing the real Ratzon, the real will of Hashem is to honor the Tzaddik, Mordecai, and to punish the Rasha, Haman. Now, what Hashem truly wants is he wants everyone to do the Shuvah. He wants everyone to be close to him. But the Rasha constantly listens to the Yetzer Hara, distancing himself further and further from Hashem, where the Tzaddik who conquers, who uses Gevurah to conquer his Yetzer Hara, comes closer and closer and closer to Hashem, closer to the king, and the king wants to honor the Tzaddik. So the king says, hurry, take the attire and horse and do all this for Mordecai the Jew, Mordecai HaYehudi. And Haman told his wife Zeresh and his friends. Now it's switched. Now it's Zeresh first and his friends second. Now he's in trouble. Now who is going to run to in his time of trouble? He's falling. Now it's just his wife. His wife's more important to him in his time of, he's falling. He's descending. So now he tells his wife Zeresh and his friends what happened to him. His wise men and Zeresh said, if before Mordecai you have begun to fall, is Jewish, you will not prevail against him and will fall before him. And the king's chamberlains arrived and hurried to bring Haman to the banquet, which Esther had prepared. It's the second night of Passover, the second Seder. It's the beginning of Sephiras HaOmer. That's when Mordecai was learning with his students. Haman's being defeated by the Omer, the holiness of the Omer offering. Any comments? Or should we move on to Chesed, the fall of Haman?
Oh no, yeah. I mean, like that's the secret of all history. Is like if you mess with the Jews, like and they start winning, you're gonna fall. Like once they start winning, you're in trouble. You can mess with them, but eventually, there's someone backing them that you don't want to mess with.
Right. The Rasha, the evil person may rise for a little bit, but it's all part of Hashem's plan. Like
Right.
The Nazis, Yamak Shemo, the incarnation of Amalek in the 20th century, they wanted 1,000-year Reich. And Hashem gave them just 12 years, and it was for Hashem's purposes. It was horrible destruction they brought on, but it's all to push the process forward to Mashiach, and building the Beis Hamikdash. And it's all, and it's all, for the good. It's all for the Siddiqim. All right, so we're going to move up to Chesed now. So now we're on the 7 from the bottom. We're going to see the completion and the tikkun of the 7 lower sephiros, the completion of all the emotions, the midos, and the fall of evil. So the king asked on the night of the second wine feast, the second night of Passover, what is your request, Queen Esther? Esther Amalka, it will be granted you. And what is your petition? Even if it be until half of the kingdom will be fulfilled. So Achashverosh doesn't want to allow the building of the Beis Hamikdash. Half the kingdom, fine, but not what's in the middle of the kingdom, the Beis Hamikdash, the temple, right, in Jerusalem. All right, so
Yeah,
Esther,
it
yeah.
says the kindness, the chesed leumim chatat, the kindness of the nations is sin. Because
Mm.
all the good they do is they do for themselves. They don't do it for true altruistic purposes.
So he's making the queen happy because it'll
Oh,
benefit him. It's not good. It's not right. It's not kindness to others. He's making Esther happy, so then the queen will do good things for him. All right. So Esther responded, if it pleases the king, and who's the true king? Hashem. If it pleases the king, let my life be granted to me as a request, and my nation as my petition. For we have been sold, I and my nation, to be destroyed, to be killed, and to be exterminated. And King Achashverosh, he exclaimed, Mihu zeh ve'ezeh, who is this? Where is the one who dared to do so? And Esther said, a man, a tsar ve'oyev, who is an adversary and an enemy, this wicked Haman. And the Midrash says that she really wanted to point at Achashverosh. You too are trying to kill the Jews. But the Malach, the angel, pushed her finger away from Achashverosh and towards Haman. Any comments yet, or should we just?
Yeah, essentially, like even Hashverosh also wanted to destroy the Jews. It wasn't just Haman. So evil spreads its wings wherever it can be. It's not. It's very contagious. So Hashverosh is also the evil one. But for purpose of the story, the angel came and pointed to Haman.
Mm. All right, so the king rose in his wrath, and who's this? This is Hashem. And he went into the palace garden, Gan Eden, while Haman remained to beg Queen Esther for his nefesh, for his soul. Now Haman's realizing he lost his soul. He went too far in the path of evil. He's lost his soul. We got Mishloach Manos going on all the time. Yeah. What? Cross screen screen? Not right now. Okay, not right now. Okay, I'll do it with you after those. Okay. So when the king returned, Haman had fallen on the couch, and the king said, Hagar.
Well, he fell on the couch and he was on top of Esther.
On top of Esther, didn't look good. And then
it didn't look good. There was the angel came and kept pushing him,
pushed him on top of Esther. And then the King Achashverosh comes in and he says, Gam litzvosh es hamalka. I think it's lichbos, I think. Lichbos es hamalka. In me, but bias, you're going to try to assault the king while I'm in the house. You're going to assault the queen while the king's in the house. And they covered Haman's face. And this is a chesed. And Harbona, who also, the Midrash says, did not like the Jews, but he saw, it says, like, when you see the, I think the expression is when you see the ox, get sick, come and get your knife. It's like when the mighty animal is sick, then everyone comes and carves it up for the meal, So Harbona said further, the eights, the tree, the gallows which Haman made for Mordecai, who spoke good for the king, is standing in Haman's house, and it's 50 amos high. And now the chesed, Hashem is going to, the ultimate kindness, the ultimate love for the Jewish people, Hashem's going to save us from our enemies, and the wicked Haman's going to be hanged. And now we see the completion of the lower seven. All right, what do you want to jump in here and say?
That's the kindness. The kindness that God does is that He destroys the wicked people. It seems like it's not kindness, but that is the kindness. The kindness is when evil is blotted out in the world. As God says, my name isn't complete until the name of Amalek is destroyed in the world.
Right. So, right. I mean, so the enemies may rise up against the Jewish people, but it's all for Hashem's purposes. It was all to motivate us to do teshuvah, to come closer to the king. And then the chesed completely takes over. And then Hashem saves his people. Hashem redeems his people. And now that's the completion of the lower seven. And now we're going to go up to the upper three. The upper three is now going to be that was the emotions. The lower seven's the emotions. Now we're going to massage.
Yeah.
Now we're going to fix the intellect, the perception of the world, the intellectual perception of the world also has to be fixed. Like the evil ideas of Amalek also have to be eliminated from the world. Okay, so now we're going to go up to Bina. Bina is the place, the world of Berea, the world of creation. It's where the Kisei Avot is. Yeah.
It's understanding. Understanding, and it's also where, like, even though it's the three upper sefirot, where it's talking about the mind, meaning like the intellect, but it's where dinim arise. Like it's kindness, but it's like it's kind of tempered.
Right. So we're still on the left. This is the top of the left. And right, this is when the din comes down from Bina, but it's interesting because Bina is also called Olam Haba. Bina's called Gan Eden. It's called the Garden of Eden. And Malchus on Shabbos, Malchus, the lowest sephira, the princess, goes up and sits on the queen's throne on Shabbos. Okay, so that's the Shabbos queen. So then King Achashverosh, he gave the estate of Haman, the enemy of the Jews, to Queen Esther. So now we see the property, the riches, the house of the wicked goes to the righteous. The king removed his signet ring and gave it to Mordecai. So now the wicked Haman was viceroy. Now the righteous, the Tzaddik Mordecai is now viceroy. Now this is Olam Haba. We're getting a sense of what's going to happen in Olam Haba. The wicked are going to be removed. The good are going to be elevated. We're seeing Hafachachu, the flipping and the turning over of the world. Right? Esther put Mordecai in charge of Haman's estate. So the queen, the Shekinah, puts Mordecai in charge of the estate now, of the mansion, you know. Esther fell at the king's feet and cried and implored him to avert the evil of Haman Hagagi, the wicked, you know, the Amaleki Haman, and his scheme he plotted against the Jews. And the king extended the gold scepter to Esther, and she arose and stood before the king. And Achashverosh said, "You may write concerning the Jews what is favorable in your eyes, in the name of the king, and seal it with the king's signet. For an edict which is written in the king's name and sealed with the king's signet may not be revoked." So we see that like the wicked Haman himself has physically been removed from the world, but the ideas of the Nazis, the ideas of the anti-Semite are still in the world, and the ideas have to be removed because then there's other anti-Semites that will pick up the banner of evil. Any comments here? Or?
No, 100%. Like if you don't blot it out completely, like the ideology, that can live on forever.
Yeah.
Humans come and go, but the ideology is what has to be blotted out. Right. The Ramchal says in his classical work of Dat Unod that the whole purpose is that the oneness be revealed, and it's hidden, and humanity has to reveal the oneness. But in order to reveal the oneness, you have to completely blot out any other thing that could be thought to have any kind of power.
All right, so let's see the completion of Bina here. So the king's scribes, they were summoned on the 23rd of Sivan, and they wrote as Mordecai dictated to the Jews. Now, at first, it was Haman dictating to the scribes to send out the original decree to kill the Jews. But now it's Mordecai. Now he's dictating to the scribes. And he dictated to the Jews first, to the satraps, to the governors, to the officials of all the countries from Hod to Cush, the entire empire, 127 countries, sent by couriers on horseback, riders of swift mules, bred of mares, that the king gives permission to the Jews of every city to organize and defend themselves, to destroy, to kill, and to exterminate every armed force of any nation or country that threatens them, and to plunder their possessions on one day in all the countries of King Achashverosh on the 13th of Adar. Mordecai left the king's presence in royal apparel. He put on the lavush of Malchus, and he put on techeles, the chod, the aterazaka. He put on turquoise and white and a large gold crown and a robe of fine linen and purple. And then the city of Shushan with Sahala, with Simcha, they were cheerful and they were happy. And then La Yehudim Haisa, Ora, the Simcha, Vesaso Miyakar. And to the Jews, there was the light of the Torah, there was happiness, there was joy, there was honor. It's Purim in every country, in every city, in every place the king's word and his decree reached. The Jews had gladness and joy, and the Mishteh and Yom Tov. And now we have the Suda of Purim, the 4 mitzvahs of Purim. We're in Bina. What do you got to say? Understanding.
Oh my God, this is like amazing.
Yeah. We have
there's so much I don't even know where to start. Yeah. But it's like you have to have permission before you can go and destroy your enemies. Like you don't have permission to just do nilly-willy what you want. But once the Jews get that permission, meaning like that they were righteous. Because what happens when you go out to war, and we see it in today's happening, is like the any time of danger, the Satan has the ability to accuse. And if he has the ability to accuse, then if you're not completely righteous, then he can kill. So a person's life and death are in the balance. So if you don't have the righteousness to go out and war and destroy, then you're not going to win. It's like a game that's happening in the upper realms. It's not really down here, right? It's just being played out down here. So they get the permission to start, like, destroying their enemies, because without that they can't do anything, right? And then Mordecai goes out, right, with Tchelet. Tchelet is like the Malchut, and like that's the color. The turquoise is the color of Malchut, and white is Chesed. And a large gold crown. The crown is the highest level that you could be, and gold is the highest of the precious metals that you can have. And fine linen, which is also like kind of white, and purple. Purple if you notice that the colors of the aura, purple is one of the holiest colors, akin to white. White is the best, but then right below it is purple. So it's showing that it's explicitly stating these exact colors to show that, yeah, we have control of the upper realms. Okay, it's shown, because when your enemy sees that you're stronger than them, they bow down and they fall by themselves, right? They give up. But when they think they have a chance to win, that's when they start with their bravado and their attempt to try to win the war. But when they see you're overpowering them, so that's the whole story of Mordechai, the holiness that he imbued by the fasting and the learning and everything that they did. That the Megillah is showing that these colors, shown themselves upon him, and so the Jews were on the victorious side. There was no way that the non-Jews could possibly win this war.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting what you're saying, and I want to relate exactly what's happening right now with October the 7th. We've been pouring out tefillah, prayers to Hashem. We've been learning Torah, doing mitzvahs in the merit, but we haven't reached the full level of merit yet, and we see it that the king hasn't fully given permission to destroy Hamas completely yet. And we haven't reached the point where the king is going to release, he hasn't released the high. May it be today, may we see the immediate release and the immediate defeat. But the enemies are out there. Hezbollah's there, Iran's there. The king hasn't fully, we haven't reached this point of Bina where the king says it's now time. It's now time, Hamas will be completely wiped out now. The hostages will be released, right? This point that we're striving for. And we need to shuva, and what's interesting is Mordecai didn't lead an army. Mordecai simply went out to the street and he put on sackcloth and ashes, and his army was prayer to Hashem. Just his tefillah and teshuva to Hashem, and then just an army of just normal everyday Jews. But once the king gives permission to destroy the wicked, then nothing can stop it. Nothing can stop the level of Bina. All right, so let's move even higher to Chakma. Let's see. So now
wait, before you start, I have to say something.
Okay.
Chachma is the level of Abba. Abba is like the second in command, so to speak. But that's what's being revealed in all of Purim. It's like the most holiness thing that could be revealed is being revealed right now, and that's the Chachma. Chachma is Abba, and Abba is being revealed, and all the things that we do, Megillat Esther, the revealing of the hiddenness, is actually in Chachma. So that's all the secrets of what's happening right now.
Right, Chachma and Bina. Right, Chachma is the Yud of Hashem's name. Bina is the Hey of Hashem's name. It's the Yud Hey. They're never apart. It's the higher king, the higher queen. The Abba Ilah, the elevated father. Ima Ilah, the elevated mother. These letters are never separated. And Amalek only has power to try to cover up the Vav Hey. Amalek can only affect Zeranpin and Nukva, the lower 7, but Amalek has no power over the upper 3. The upper 3 are never separated.
It's funny when a child gets hurt or something, he runs to his mom and dad, right?
Yeah.
Mommy, daddy, they try to hurt me, right? That's normal nature.
All right, so let's go higher. Let's go into Chachma. So when the 13th of Adar, when the day the enemies of the Jews expected to prevail over them, it was turned around. The Jews prevailed over their adversaries. No man could stand before them, for the fear of them had fallen upon the nations. And see, it's really the fear of Hashem, but it's working through the Jewish people now. It's really the Yiras of Hashem, but it's working through the Jewish people. So all the officials of the countries, the satraps, the governors, those that conduct the king's affairs, exalted the Jews for the fear of Mordecai. Once again, through Mordecai, the fear of Hashem through Mordecai. The fear of Mordecai had fallen upon them. Mordecai was preeminent in the royal palace. Oh, we got a 10-minute warning.
Uh-oh.
Okay, and his fame was spreading throughout all the countries. The Jews struck all the enemies with the sword. In Shushan Abira, the Jews killed and annihilated 500 men. Parshandata, Dalphon, Aspata, Porata, Adalia, Aridata, Parmashta, Arisai, Aridai, Veyezata, the 10 sons of Haman ben Hamdata, they were all killed, the Jews' enemy, but they did not lay their hands on the spoils. The same day the number killed in Shushan Abira was reported to the king. The king said to Esther, "What is your request now? It will be granted to you. What is your petition further? It will be fulfilled." Notice no longer the until half the kingdom. Even the Beis Hamikdash, the return Shekinah can be yours now. The king will grant any request now at the level of Chakmah. And then Esther replied, "If it pleases the king, let tomorrow also be given to the Jews who are in Shushan to act as they did today, and let Haman's 10 sons be hanged on the gallows." The king ordered it to be done, and they hanged Haman's 10 sons. The Jews in Shushan gathered on the 14th of Adar and killed 300 men, but didn't lay their hands on the spoils. The rest of the Jews in the king's countries assembled and defended themselves, gaining relief from their enemies, killing 75,000 of their enemies, but they didn't lay their hand on the spoils. We didn't take any treasure. We just we defended ourselves, killed the enemies, and this is on the 13th of Adar.
Oh man. The 13th, right? 13 is the gematria of Echad. Echad is one. The revelation of the one is when the Jews win. 75,000. It's very interesting. It just fell out like 75,000 exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So it says that Mashiach is going to be 75 years old.
Ooh.
And where do they get that? They get that from the word Hadassah. Hadassah is the other name of Esther, right? Her real name. So Hadassah is the gematria 74. And with the name actually itself is 75.
Oh, I never
so
heard
it's
that before.
interesting that Esther, which is 75, killed 75,000. Now, if you know anything about Kabbalah, you know that the ones is in the world of Asiya, it's the lowest world, and the tens are in Yetzirah, the next world up, and the hundreds in Berea, and the thousands in Asiya, Atzilut. And that means that you're able to conquer all the worlds in creation.
Very interesting. All right, so let's finish up here. So they gain relief on the 14th, making a day of feasting and happiness, the Suda Purim. The Jews of Shushan assembled on both the 13th and the 14th of Adar, and they gain relief on the 15th of Adar, making a day of feasting and happiness. That's why it was Shushan Purim. And Mordecai recorded the events and sent letters to all the Jews and observed annually the 14th and the 15th of Adar as the days the Jews gain relief. And the month that turned around from sorrow to gladness, from mourning to festival, to observe them as days of feasting and simcha, mishloach manos, sending gifts of food, which I got to get back to soon, sending delicacies to one another, matanos evyoni, giving gifts to the poor, giving tzedakah to those people that need, some money to buy, things for their Purim and help them out. And they called the day Purim from the word por, mean lottery. And these days should be remembered and celebrated by every generation, every family, every country, and every city. And these days of Purim will never cease from among the Jews. Amazing, amazing stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the story of all of creation. It's like the wickedness try to destroy the good people, and the good people prevail. It's the underdog story. It's the Rocky story. Philadelphia, baby. Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love.
Yeah, I think every underdog story taps in a little bit of that story, that the David and Goliath, the David and Goliath, but the true David and Goliath, like King David's the heart of the Jewish people, but it's really that one nation, the sheep against the 70 wolves. It's like we are hated and despised. I love it, the X-Men motto, like trying to save a world that hates and fears them. Like that is the best for the Jewish people. Trying to save the world that hates and fears them, the Jewish people. It's just incredible. Like there's so much emes in that. Yeah, this is it. I mean, this is the chachma, the wisdom, like really seeing the clarity of how the world's really working.
Yeah.
Seeing what's really happening. I mean, it's interesting what you're saying before, right? It's like we haven't received permission from the king. So the nations of the world say, no, you don't have permission to destroy Hamas. Like Hashem's still using them to make us do teshuvah. Hashem's using Hamas, like when Hashem gave the signet ring of Achashverosh to Haman. Hashem's putting the fear into us, giving us enemies the Rocky story. So we'll train, we'll fight back, so the underdog can, win. We can beat Apollo Creed. We can beat those Greeks. We can, we got to fight back. The Jews, we need a sparring partner. We need that fire sometimes to get going. We got to tap it and Purim. It's always Purim. Every Havdalah after Shabbos, we say, V'haisa, Lihudim, Ora, V'simcha. It's always Purim. We never separate ourselves from Purim. And we'll truly see the real elevation, the real holiness of Purim with the coming of Mashiach ben Yosef and the Mashiach ben David. Okay, so let's head up to the higher crown, the 10th of the Spheros. The first is the Spheros, really. It depends which direction you're going, but it's the highest of the Spheros, Keser, the upper crown. It's really the Rosh de la Yodea. It's the head who you really can't know. It's kind of beyond our ability to really fully grasp Keser, right? But here, and I'm going to tell you, I have almost no understanding what's happening here in the 10th parak of the Megillah. But like now, after all this, King Achashverosh, he puts a tax on the mainland and the islands of the sea. It's a great mystery. I don't know if we're going to figure it out today. All his mighty and powerful acts and the account of the greatness of Mordecai, who the king had promoted, are recorded in the book of Chronicles of the kings of Media and Persia. Mordecai the Jew. Mordecai Yehudi, he was the viceroy to King Achashverosh. He was a great man among the Jews, and he found favor with the multitude of his brothers. He sought the good of his people and spoke for the welfare of all his seed. Now, it doesn't say it in here, but then what happens next is the book of Ezra and Nehemiah, and then Daryavesh, who's the son of Queen Esther, he becomes king. He allows the Jews to rebuild the base of Mikdash, to rebuild the temple in Jerusalem, and that's kind of where all this was leading. The return of the true king of Hashem, his Shekhinah resting on the Aron HaKodesh, the Ark of the Covenant, and the Holy of Holies. I've got 2:45 left, 2 minutes 45. Any last words you want to say here? Then we get back
Oh
to...
my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so no, so you return back to Keter. Keter is the original plan that everybody comes back to the king. You levy a tax. The tax is to the king. You're only working for the king. It says in the end of Pirkei Avos that the whole world was created for his honor, right? So everything is created for the king. So if you give everything for the king, then you become second to the king. You're Mishneh Lamelech. You're the Mordechai. But if you aggrandize yourself, then you'll be subjugated to slavery. That's the whole story of all creation.
That's it.
You gotta give it up. You gotta give it up to God.
Incredible stuff. Maybe we'll have to have like a breakdown. Like we'll have to have like a post-game show of all this deep Kabbalah we're learning here on Purim. Maybe Shushan Purim will have a part 3. We'll have a breakdown. Digest it all after I get a little yayin in me and get it all straightened out.
You need it. Just like me, my friend. Just like me. You need to get it inside.
Okay, I gotta get out there. I gotta get more Mishlach Manas delivered. I got a Purim Suda coming up. Everybody should have a Freilich of Purim. Any last words before we sign off here today?
No, don't forget Matanot Evyonim.
I know the most I gave some today. I've been giving the most important, the Matanas Evyonim, the gifts to the poor. That's the most important of all the mitzvahs. The most important.
Okay. So I'll say before time comes out, how much time we got?
1 minute.
1 minute. Okay, 1 minute warning. Okay, so it's like this. It's like the revelation, the Megillah of Esther, the stuff that's hidden. And what's happening is that Matanot Levyonim, you give to the poor. The revelation is given to the poor, the people who don't have the knowledge. Okay, and that's what we're trying to do, is give the revelation to the people who don't have the knowledge.
I love, beautiful. All right, Purim Sameach. Have a happy Purim. We'll see you back again soon on Sweet Good Torah and the Gates of Mordecai.
Oh.